Here we are on Excel 2, formulas, functions, and formatting. And remember, in the book, we're on the second set of green pages. There are all of the basic skills you need for Excel you actually learned already. What we're doing in this chapter is giving you more details about how to do advanced features of the same thing that we already learned. There's a difference between a formula and a function. A formula is just like math. Equals 2 plus 3. You always put the equals first. You have to put the equals first. Equals 2 plus 3. But on the computer, you don't want to put the 2 and the 3. You want to use the cell references. Equals A1 plus B1. And that's one mistake students frequently make is typing the actual. Then the computer can't, the computer will add it up, but what happens if you change those numbers later? The whole point of putting A1 and B1 is so that if you change the numbers in there, the computer will change the answer on your math problem. But a formula is just a math problem. Okay? Distinguish that from a function, and the function is some little tiny computer program that somebody wrote for you to do a more, can be just as simple as the addition, but more complex. So if you have a formula, you don't want to say equals A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus A4 plus A5 plus A6 plus A7 down to 100. You don't want to do that. Way too much trouble. It would work, but way too much trouble. So what you do instead is you use a sum function. And the sum function says add up all these cells, and I'll tell you which ones. And then you make in parentheses. Functions always take parentheses. Memorize that. Functions always take parentheses. Parentheses. And if you're taking computer programming class later, the same thing there. Anyway, so you have a range of cells from A1 through A100. You're going to add those up. Well, if you put a dash, A1 dash A100, put a dash, that means minus to the computer. So that doesn't work. We'll have to figure out a different symbol to use. So what they use is a colon, 2 dots. So you would have I'm sorry, I know sign language, A1 equals the sum of, SUM, the sum of, and then A1, and then you put a colon, that means dash, through A100. You put that in there, and the computer does the addition for you. It's so simple. Many students who remember their Excel from fourth grade or whatever you did it will come and go equal to A1 plus A2 plus A3. Well, isn't that wrong? But come on, it's not efficient. So we want you to learn the functions. And we'll learn the 5 most common ones, which are add them up, sum, count how many there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. And then the average, add them all up, divide by how many. I know math. And then the max, which is the biggest number, and the min, which is the smallest number. In this lesson, we'll do those 5, just so you have some exposure, but they all work the same way. Once you learn one, it's a cinch to learn the others. Then we'll learn in this chapter, here's the average, max, and min. We'll learn how to put a pretty theme on it like we did back in Word. Put a theme and put a date. Okay. And we'll learn about changing the width of the cell of the columns or the height of the rows, which was already in my little preliminary lesson if you have me. And check the spelling. You could have a spelling error in your Excel worksheet. And then there's some different layouts. Layouts become more important the farther we get into the software programs, and more important those different views are. In Word, we use one view, but we'll keep working on more views as we go along. And then how to print. So that's what's in this chapter. Let's hop over and look at the next page and see what it looks like that we're going to make. Now this doesn't look dissimilar to what we did before. We had those merge and centered titles, and then we had column headings here that were set with a style. but they're not blue this time, they're red. And the reason why is because we changed the theme. Remember, themes are fonts and colors that are preset with a name. So we'll put those in here. And we see some columns are formatted with a dollar sign and some don't have a dollar sign, but they still all look like money. That's that comma style. And then down here at the bottom, we did the sums. Total is sum. That's a synonym. Okay. And then the highest, that's a max, the biggest number. And the lowest number is the min. And the average is add them up, divide by how many. The biggest mistake students make down in this section is that if you let the computer choose the cells for you, you will get it wrong because the computer doesn't know that these are the only cells to include. It's going to keep trying to include all of these other cells when you do it. Very, very important. Do not let the computer choose the cells. You always either select them yourself or at least visually check to be sure they're the right ones. That's hands down the biggest mistake that students make with this part. So lots of typing in there, but not so hard. Oh, let me show you one more thing. Look at this. How do I zoom in? You see this? It's in I-13. You see that little green triangle right there? That little green triangle means that the formula in that cell or function, whatever it is different from the ones beside it. It's a warning of an error or a possible error. Sometimes the computer is right, sometimes it's wrong. But those little green triangles you have to see. Be sure to look out for them, and it will let you know that you may have done a mistake. And this is talking about formatting of cells. We formatted in Word. So here's a formatting. These are all currency kinds of formats. This one's a date. So we can tell the computer what data type to make the cell. And this idea of telling the computer what data type something is, we will see again in Access. Like this is a plain number with no decimals. And this is a hyperlink. And this is regular text. And this is some kind of a currency format. And this is a percent. And this is a date. Those are data types. We will see them again. So it's good for you to learn that concept now. Have fun.